coming, everyone. I hope you're having a great Berlin blockchain week. It's been great. I think there's a lot of events. It's been hectic. It's been fun. And I'm personally very excited to present here with all of you POP, because it's the first time that I publicly present this project to more people. So there we go. First of all, let me introduce myself. Yes, please. My name is Alejandro. I'm part of Rogue, one of the co-founders, and Rogue is the team building POP, right? So what is POP? POP is basically our initiative, our effort on bringing to the Polkadot ecosystem a little bit of a better developer experience. Of course, we are not the only ones working towards that direction, but we have kind of a couple of propositions that we think are very interesting. And I will appreciate, or I will invite you to see POP as a platform, as an umbrella under which we have different tools, right? So, which are these tools? They are a parachain in which developers can deploy Web3 solutions, dApps, in the shape of smart contracts, and the other one is a CLI tool focused aimed for developers, so they can get going quickly. They can bootstrap their ideas to build Web3 solutions. Again, we don't really care if these Web3 solutions come in the shape of a parachain, come in the shape of a smart contract, come in the shape of a palette. The thing is, we are putting our efforts with POP on delivering a better DevEx to the Polkadot ecosystem, so we can get more solutions being built on Polkadot, right? I think the title for the presentation was kind of deploying app chains with POP CLI or something like that. I will reserve that part to the very end, and I would like to kind of double click on POP network and see what this part of POP, of the POP as a platform is, and what makes it special, right? POP network is a parachain. It's a parachain that has at its core pallet contracts as its VM. So this allows it to run any WASM contract on top of it. Usually in our ecosystem, the famous language node to do this is Ink, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty powerful and really well-built language. So you can deploy Ink smart contracts on POP network, of course. Then POP network also exposes some of its runtime functions, some of the logic that it's living in the shape of pallets in the runtime of the parachain to the smart contracts through an API, an interface that is called POP API, and it's built for these smart contracts to be able to leverage the parachain runtime, and so open their doors to build more interesting solutions and kind of leverage Polkadot as best or as much as they can, right? We have made the decision of denominating the fees to make all this happen in DOT, meaning that all the fees, all the gas, deploying, paying for transactions in the network will happen with the DOT token, and only the DOT token. So that's more or less 4 points that define what POP network is. Then what POP network allows is kind of bring closer smart contracts with parachains, blurring the lines a little bit, thanks to the POP API, thanks to enabling smart contracts to use certain logic that is sitting down on the parachain runtime, right? We kind of we call this kind of smarter contracts, with the aim that this allows developers to build solutions that are only possible in Polkadot, right? That they can leverage the value proposition of the whole ecosystem that we have, which is pretty interesting, and there's plenty of very good things deployed in here. So we hope that developers can leverage what we're building to build more interesting and more unique value propositions that can only happen in Polkadot because of its characteristics, right? This slide speaks a little bit of what POP API is, more or less. I will kind of like make a brief comment, or maybe a more technical comment. The way we are developing like the POP API, it comes like kind of like in a combined flavor. It's like it has one part which is like an ink library that smart contract developers will use to speak with a runtime extension that is exposed on the runtime side, so they can kind of like connect together, and this way the logic that developers are writing on their smart contracts can use logic that is on the runtime parachain. And this opens the door to many, many, many use cases in there, exposed in a very seamless way, like way more easier, abstracting a lot of the infrastructure and complexity that is running, you know, in these parachains, and kind of like the whole architecture of the broader ecosystem, which is like not the easiest, right? It's fairly complex. This is another way of saying it. Then we move on the other side of what we are building, kind of like we are advancing in parallel with the parachain and the CLI tool. The CLI tool, it's, as its name kind of like hints, an all-in-one CLI developer tool to allow devs to create like solutions on Polka, right? Even though it's called POP CLI, it's not really related with the network per se. It's just like, again, like POP is kind of like our initiative, it's where we are focusing efforts on delivering things that improve like developer experience in Polka, right? With POP CLI, you can bootstrap a template for a parachain, a palette, a contract, bring up like a local environment quickly, do your tests, and then deploy. So kind of like a feel of what, you know, Foundry, Hardhat, or other tools exist in other ecosystems. We are trying to follow kind of like best practices and deliver a good experience as already other ecosystems have, right? Again, this brings like better tooling to the ecosystem, more options, which is always good. An easier setup for developers. We think that it should be impossible for a person to drop between ideation and proof of concept, right? There's like a gap in there when you have an idea and you kind of like want to test it out, and you sit down on your computer and it's like, okay, let's see, how can I make this work? How can I make this happen? And if that part of the funnel, that part of what users approach in the ecosystem is frustrating, then most likely they will drop and just don't continue, right? So we are trying to kind of like dampen that complexity hit in there with a net streamline approach here. We aim for POP CLI to be present and accompany developers in the whole developing lifecycle, right? So it's like, hey, I want to bootstrap a project. Like I create my project. It, you know, it gives you all the folders for you to start building, and you can like do your testing, and then you can like plan your runtime upgrades, and you know, eventually you will deploy. We are not trying to solve any infrastructure problem, the deployment part, right? We are more than happy to collaborate with existing teams in the ecosystem that are already doing things like that. But what we really put the focus and efforts on is like being present on the building part of creating solutions, right? On that whole cycle. And again, serving the whole ecosystem, POP, CLI, you can understand it as a common good effort. You know, we are not trying to gatekeep anything with the CLI. We're just trying to deliver like a very good experience and means for having more tabs, right, on Polka. In case you're interested, here, this is basically a link to our Telegram group. We usually post announcements or things that we are working on in there. There are like a few conversations from time to time. Questions and are always welcome. Feedback. This is like a really perfectly good place to give us feedback. We're kind of like pretty active in there. Otherwise, like you can find our repositories in GitHub with the Rogue .io name. And what I wanted to do next, it's a little demo, a little workshop of POP CLI, where we're gonna just bootstrap a parachain launch it locally and then like deploy a contract in there. It's kind of like easy, you know, and well, I think it should be pretty quick. So let me just move the chair here.